Welcome to my Science and Magic YouTube channel. My name is Amanda Helen, and I love talking about all things feminine energy, working deliciously, and really how to care for your nervous system in a really embodied way. Today, we're going to be talking about energy. We're going to be talking about expensive energy and why, as a feminine essence being, and if you're a human design projector, your energy is precious. So precious. Also, later on in the video, I might get to addressing how to really feel your value as an entrepreneur. So, and if I don't get to it in this video, I'll do another video about it, but we're going to see what we can get through. So feel free to say hi if you're popping on. I'd love to hear where you're tuning in from. The first thing that I want to talk about here is just like, okay, let's set up the scene. So let's say that you get asked on a date, and as a feminine essence being, you're getting ready for the date. What are some things that you do most likely to feel polished, to feel in your feminine? For me, I love to take a long, delicious bath. That gets me into my feminine energy. I don't like to be rushed. I don't like my baths to be timed. So this could be anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. I like my skin to feel soft. So this is kind of oiling up my skin. And this gets me into a really internal, juicy place. Then from there, do my hair, do my makeup, do my nails, all of these things. How long could this take you? Really, if you're not rushing and if you have all the time in the world, how long might it take you to get ready for a date, to show up in your feminine essence or energy in front of the masculine? And I joke about this with my husband. If we're going to be going out, he really just needs some time to maybe take a shower and put on an outfit. For me, it's not like that. Like, I need some time to switch and shift my energy. And all of these things, all of these activities, all these grooming exercises, yes, they make you present a certain way and they make you appear more polished and groomed. But really, what I think they are rituals to help us to slow down and to input energy and attention into ourselves and to have this almost leisure-like space. So when we have the details taken care of on our bodies, then it shows that we have the luxury to take the time to attend to those details. And what it does is it shifts our energetic state into being more feminine. So think of all the things as a feminine essence being that you like to do to stay groomed. I mean, and feel free, if you're tuning in live, put them in the chat. Hair, makeup, lashes, brows, nails, outfits, shaving. I mean, it's funny. My grandma, I remember one time she was complaining. She's like, "Oh, it just takes so much work to shave one leg." And it's true. It takes time. It takes energy. You get your shaving cream, you buy the razors, you think of all of the time and all of the monetary investment it takes to pour into these grooming aspects of the body and what that means to show up in that state for someone else. So in this example of showing up for a date, if you're someone who has a hard time accepting to have someone, pay for you, feel into how you're presenting yourself and the type of energy that you're showing up in, not just looks. Like, you can go through all of these rituals and have all of these well-groomed aspects of yourself and totally be in masculine energy. But if you let them bring you into a feminine energy, then that is a gift. Why? Because it offers softness. It offers radiance. It helps the person that you're with just take a deep breath out to just exhale. So this is what I want to talk about today in many, many different levels, right? Yes, a date is a really clear example of how this might show up, but also within relationships in general, like, yes, in your divine union, maybe in friendships, in business. How can we have this really innate feeling of our sense of value and what our energy is bringing? And I think it's really interesting that I was doing some reflecting on this worth versus value, right? And I don't ever hear men talk about their self-worth. I'm sure it's out there, but I've never come across like a male friend or family member reflecting on their self-worth. And for some reason, women think about this a lot. Like, what am I worth? Worth is different. Worth should be just inherent. You are worthy because you are a human. You are worthy because you have a beating heart in this world. Like, that should just be off the table, in my opinion. Like, I don't even think that we should talk about, am I worth? What's my self-worth? That's inherent. This video is going to be about value. And I do hear about males, masculine energy, thinking about what value they're offering, what value they're bringing to the table. And this is more about something that you pour into yourself, that you pour into a skill set, to a trade, to your energy. We often think like it's what we do, but in feminine energy, it's how we are, it's who we're being, it's what energy that we're residing in. So if you're tuning in live, please hit the like button, say hi, and feel free to ask questions and interact as we go through this. If anything comes up for you, I love to kind of interact as I go rather than saving it for the end. So I'm so grateful that you're all here. Oh, I do want to announce too, I am starting to upload all of my live YouTube streams onto my podcast, Science and Magic with Amanda. So if you're someone who really enjoys podcasts, go ahead. You can look it up. It's on Apple, on Spotify. I have a Buzzsprout site, Google, Science and Magic with Amanda. And all of the episodes will be streamed live first on my YouTube channel, and then I will upload the audio directly to my podcast. So I'm really excited for that, just to kind of give some juice to my podcast again. Okay, another thing about feminine energy, and when thinking about feminine energy, so this is the energy of softness, specifically of radiance and refreshment. To be around feminine energy is to be like around an oasis in the middle of the desert. It truly gives life. It truly breathes refreshing hydration into the system. So this is the type of feminine energy we're addressing in this video. Whereas masculine energy is more about pushing and striving and overcoming challenges and persevering and providing and protecting. That feminine energy is the oasis to be protected. It's the place where the masculine can rest their tired selves in at the end of a long day. And what goes into creating that oasis? What goes into creating that hydration? It's expensive. It is precious. There's a lot that needs to happen for that oasis to be nourished. So aside from the grooming, which we just addressed, and the incredible amount of time and energy and money that can go into all of these beauty rituals that shifts the energy to present that oasis to the masculine. Also, the feminine is expressed through vitality. So vitality, and this is the radiance. When you think of feminine radiance, it's a glow. It's like walking into the room and heads are turning, and it's like, oh my gosh, who is that? It's not just beauty, but it's glow. And that glow comes from a place of vitality, which also takes an energetic investment, monetary investment, a time investment, nutritious foods. So buying and cooking foods that are good for the body, that will help the cells of the skin to glow, that will create vitality in the internal organs. Deep sleep, having the time and the luxury to sleep in if you need to sleep in, to go to bed early, to rest the brain. Maybe it's listening to a meditation before bed or going to a yoga class, having delicious silky sheets to rest your body in at the end of the night. So deep, nourishing rest and sleep. Movement. So this could be exercise for sure, but like think more movement, think dance, think a yoga flow, think something that has like spirals in it. So the time that it takes to go to a class to settle into that feminine energy, to shift into it. And in general, our society is more geared towards masculine activities, right? It's a bit more common to go to the gym and go on a treadmill, linear walking and running to hit a certain goal to burn a certain amount of calories, or lift weights to get a certain gain on your muscle tissue. And these things are healthy for you. Do not get me wrong. But to have time to explore a new dance style, to go to a yoga flow class, to enjoy being in the body, take a walk in nature. This would be more of the feminine aspect of movement. And all of these things, like feminine energy, cannot be overworked. If somebody's overworked, so this feminine energy lives in me, so does masculine energy. And if I'm feeling overworked, if I am depleted, if I am burnt out, if I am feeling like I am pulling up and in my system and I'm really braced and I'm just like super narrowly focused, I'm more in my masculine. To be in my feminine means I cannot be that overworked. So a structure has to hold me. I have to be provided for in some sense, whether it's through my husband, whether it's through the container of my business, through passive income. I cannot be showing up to something that I don't enjoy, that drains me, for 8 hours a day and feel like I'm in my feminine. Now I can switch that at the end of the day, right? So this is where that feminine energy is expensive, because it takes a container that holds the expression of that oasis, that expression of that feminine energy, which means being provided for by resources, time, money, energy, all of these things. Like you need time to be able to cook a delicious, healthy meal, right? You need a little bit of extra money to be able to buy. Actually, I don't think that's true. Sometimes people say like, oh, it's more money to eat healthier, but like you can eat so healthy off of like grains and vegetables. Yes, buying free range organic meats is more expensive than buying conventional meats. But you can also just go back to the basics. And, if you buy prepackaged organic food, pre-made meals, then that's definitely more expensive. But if you can buy like lentils and quinoa and some carrots and avocado, it's like all this stuff, really healthy whole foods. It's not necessarily more expensive. I'm going on a rampage, but it does take time. It does take time to cook. And if you're not cooking, then someone's cooking for you, a chef or something. So it just, again, it's expensive to show up as the oasis in the desert. It just is. The other piece of this is that feminine energy has to feel safe to be expressed. So it has to feel safe. This is really where you can be super well groomed. You can, be feeding yourselves healthy food. You can be exercising. You can be whatever. If you don't feel safe, if a part of you doesn't feel safe, the feminine has a really hard time showing up. So this means that for someone to show up in their feminine, if they have had trauma in their background, they worked through that trauma or are working through it with a professional, a therapist, a somatic experience practitioner, doing EMDR, something that's really body-based, working through the trauma so that they feel safe in this moment. And maybe you don't have a lot of like capital T trauma, but then there's this ongoing, what does the nervous system, what does my animal body need to feel safe in this moment? What's in the current surroundings? Because really, the body is not going to yield. You're not going to be soft and open if you feel like there's a threat around you. So, what is this container? How do you feel safe on a root level? What's the home like? Are you in a neighborhood that feels good where you can soften and open? Um, are you, do you know that your basic needs are provided for? Or do you have to really brace and focus and work really hard to get those needs met? Then the masculine's going to come out. So, because feminine energy has to feel safe, that means that a lot of investment might have been made beforehand in the case of, the therapy or the working through past traumas, and or there's a container present now that the body can unfurl into and feel safe into now. So basically, when I feel like when I show up as my juiciest self, as my, let's say I took like a long bath and I have soft skin and I took my time with my makeup while listening to my favorite music or podcast, and my nails are done and my hair feels beautiful and I feel beautiful. I feel radiant. I feel soft. I'm more in my exhale than in my inhale. And I show up in front of whoever. Could be my husband, it could be my clients, it could be my friends. Think of how much energy went into showing up that way. Now, yes, we can create a lifestyle for ourselves where that's the norm and that, like, it's not abnormal to show up like that. But that takes time, it takes energy, it takes containment and being provided for. It just does. It's expensive. Hi, do you know how I can manifest more money and abundance? Money and abundance. That's interesting. So I'm going to talk about this actually in this next segment. Basically in regards to feminine energy and business. So we're going to get to this. Thank you for the question. Because you asked the question, I'm going to talk about it in this video. I didn't know if I'd get to it or not, but I'm going to. So I do want to talk about my course, Nervous System of a Goddess. So excited. It's actually a program. And course 1, level 1 is called Soften. And I offer basic nervous system education. I talk about the different branches of the nervous system and how they tie into masculine, feminine energy. So expressing feminine energy. I don't think that feminine energy can come through if there isn't an understanding of the nervous system. The body has to feel safe. And I offer meditations, I offer yoga practices, I offer embodiment practices and reflections. Once you sign up for this course, you have lifetime access. And so I really encourage students to move slowly through the content, very slowly, because I think we get so much in our heads and we learn so much about all this stuff that we don't actually take the time to bring it into the body. And that's what feminine energy is about. Embodiment from the neck down, existing here in this earthly body. I'm so excited about this body of work. The second level is Glow, and I'm still putting the finishing touches on that, but it is available for purchase as well. Glow is about how to step into feminine radiance. So once you learn to soften, once you learn to work with your nervous system, you can start to amplify the auric field around you, and you can start to step more into your vitality and be more in your heart. And that's what Glow is all about. So these 2 courses are ready. Levels 3 and 4. Levels 3 will be Receive, because once you start glowing, you're going to get all sorts of invitations, opportunities. So it's about stepping into value and being able to gracefully receive those things. And level 4 will be about Surrender. I'm recording those live in the new year. And if that's something that you want to do is work with me live, I would suggest taking levels 1 and 2 starting now. I don't think I'll launch levels 3 and 4 until probably March or April. So you have some time to work through the content. It is linked in the video description, and I can pull up the link. Actually, I'm just going to do it now. Let's see if I can do it. I should have done this ahead of time. I'm sorry. But I'm so excited about these courses, and I've already had people enrolling in them and having really, really good results. Okay, I'm just putting it in the chat right now. Okay, there we go. So that's soften, and I'm going to go ahead and pin it. And if you want the bundle, I'll put the bundle price at the bottom too, but I won't do that now. I'll do that later. So anyways, that's a little break. Let's talk quickly about human design projectors and why their energy is so expensive. As a human design projector, we are designed to only output an effort 3 hours a day. 3 hours, that's it. The rest of the time is supposed to be spent inputting. It can be a very active thing. That could mean going to a steam room, a sauna. That could be dancing. That could be reading. That could be listening to podcasts, building your skill sets, but you're building yourself up. And then the 3 hours are things that take effort. And that's different for every single person. For many projectors, I find that projectors can be a bit introverted, not all of them. But let's say that means hanging out with someone or going to coffee with a friend or catching up with the girls. That might be output for you. You might feel drained afterwards. Okay, so if you have 3 hours a day to spend outputting, and those 3 hours are so potent because the rest of the time you spent inputting yourselves, think of how expensive that energy is, how precious it is. And if you have a forward-facing business where you work with clients, that's really information for you to charge accordingly. And I started to notice this when it comes to how much advice I'm giving, to various people in my community. That's who I am. I like to talk about things and give advice, but I'm like, wow, do I feel drained after this? Or do I feel like it's filling me up? And you start to pay attention to that and you start to notice that. So I just want to put that out there for human design projectors, like really feel that those 3 hours of efforting are so valuable to the world because they're informed by all of the other hours of inputting into yourself. And then another thing just to consider, and this is for everybody, is when you are spending time with someone or somewhere, what is the trade-off? This has never been more clear to me than now that I'm a mother, because I love every single little bit of time that I have with my baby. And if I'm going out somewhere and spending time with somebody or having a conversation, or if I'm going to do this thing, I'm like, if I'm not with my baby, I'm like, okay, how worth it is this? Because every moment I spend with him is not only healthy for him, it's healthy for me, and it feels good. So for me, a lot of the trade-off is time with my baby. Right now, he's downstairs with my husband. This feels like a good trade-off because I love my YouTube channel. I love recording content. I love sharing my life-giving work with all of you. It is in that middle ground of like outputting energy. I do get a little drained after these, but not a lot because I just feel like I'm in flow. So the trade-off to me feels worth it now. But if I were to, let's see, I can't even think of an example right now, but if I were to do something that wasn't in alignment, maybe say yes to going out to coffee with an old friend just for the sake of doing it because that's what we've always done, but we're not really in synchrony anymore. And I don't have my baby with me. And I'm just like, okay, so this is one of my 3 precious hours. Don't have my baby with me. Do you see what I'm saying? You start to feel into what the best way to spend your time and resources are. Now, if that friend is someone who you're in energetic resonance with and who feeds you and gives you life and shows up for you in all these ways and feels like so loyal to you as a human and you get something amazing from the conversation, that's a different story. That might be more worth that energy. Not everything is paid off in money, if that makes sense. So it's not like, oh, you're going to buy me this really expensive meal. It's like, well, you might just offer me your beautiful energy and I'm offering you my beautiful energy. And I don't want to put a hierarchy here because sometimes we can start to think like oh, well, I'm too good for this person. No, you're an energetic resonance or you're not, right? It's just like it works or it doesn't work. And so let's take the hierarchy out of it or the judgment out of it and just start to think of what's the trade-off. If you're someone who loves to read books and, just sit by a fireplace or cook food or is more internal, well, going out and being social is taking away from that, if that makes sense. So, okay. I think that's all that I have for the feminine energy piece of this. If you have any questions, let me know. And I'm going to start talking about entrepreneurship and what that means as an entrepreneur. I'm a manifesting generator, but so curious. Yeah, I always say when I talk about human design, I just speak from my experience as an embodied human design projector. I don't know a lot about the other types. I know a little bit, but not enough to speak on YouTube about it. I think in general, if you're a human, feel that your time is really precious, and especially if you're a feminine essence being, because it takes so much input. It takes so much input to evoke vitality and softness. It takes trust. It takes time. It takes spaciousness. It's an expensive, luxurious, juicy energy. It's that of an oasis. Like, think of how much water it takes to nourish an oasis. And then that oasis can hold a weary traveler who is forged through the desert, right? And like, do you want to be the oasis? Well, water yourself, hydrate yourself, nourish yourself, and then understand what you offer from that place. It's really important. Okay. Obviously, I keep looking down because I have my notes here. All right. So I had a client reach out and say, like, what did you do to make it so that your services, your courses, your coaching program started selling? Like, what shifted in you? And there was a specific shift that was made at some point where I really feel like things took off. But I want to address a few things before I talk about that. And I'm curious if anyone tuning in, if you are an entrepreneur yourself, let me know in the chat if you're an entrepreneur. I'm going to speak mostly to service-based entrepreneurs. So that means you show up as the service, like you are offering something, some guidance of some sort. That could be anything. It might be a little bit product-based, but really you are the thing that's selling. The first thing to think about, and this is probably more of the low-hanging fruit, pretty obvious, education and credentials. So this is something that you can get stuck in, right? I have clients who are just, they don't feel like they can get enough education and credentials and certifications and all this stuff. But when thinking about offering value and the pricing that you place on your services, it's something to consider. So for me, and I'm going to give examples for me. I studied neuroscience. I have a bachelor's of science in neuroscience for my undergrad, and I have a minor in dance. So I didn't understand what I was doing at the time. I just knew that I loved dance. So people would always kind of laugh, like, really? Dance and neuroscience? But it made so much sense to me because the brain moves the body. So I would learn about all these cool things in neuroscience in my classes and then get to experience them and integrate them and be in the body in my dance studio. So when someone is working with me, they are getting literally 4 years of taking science classes, of sitting in labs, of going through the scientific method, and then hours and hours and hours of dancing. And when I work with someone in their embodiment, all of that is brought to it. I have embodied and am embodying the nervous system, right? It's something that I've spent so much money on. So think about, when you think of your education, think of the time. How much time does it spend in university, right? And the energy, how much energy, the monetary investment that goes into that. I am bringing all of that to the table in every single session that I'm offering. I went to the Dr. Ida Rolf Institute to do hands-on work with connective tissue. So I spent hours and hours and hours with my hands on different bodies, sensing their nervous systems and working with their connective tissue. letting that inform how I view the body. Money, time. It was in Colorado, so it took travel. It was life disrupting because it was 2-month modules at a time. So I'd have to go live somewhere new for 2 months, then come back. I went to biodynamic craniosacral school. I did 3 modules. That was also in Colorado, learning to be in presence with another human being, to sense into the subtle fluctuations of the body with my hands, with my heart, with my presence, time, money, energy. And my yoga certification. I did my yoga certification over 10 years ago, time, money, energy, and have taught hours and hours and hours of classes in studios, private lessons. All of this expertise I bring into my 1-hour sessions with my clients. I put into my courses. So think about when someone hires you or takes your course, they are not just paying for your hour, they are paying for everything that you offer in that hour, if that makes sense. It's your value. I just jumped in, and this is the perfect for me to hear. I'm a baby coach entrepreneur. Awesome. Thank you so much for letting me know. That's really exciting for you. I just started coaching. Great. Okay. I'm loving the Yin Yoga. I was a bit nervous because I have spinal stenosis and I was afraid it would put me into flare up. Amanda actually did the opposite. I'm so glad. And yes, if you're listening, I also have, I did a video before this one about the power of Yin Yoga and how actually softening the body will allow you to really practice feminine energy. So there's a Yin Yoga course that I'm offering. It's already pre-recorded. You can start it now. So I love that. I'm so glad. Thank you for sharing that with me. And I'm glad that it's doing the opposite of flaring up, that it's cooling you down. That's yin. Yin is cooling energy. This is just an extra little bonus on top of feeling more feminine and melty. Yum. Yes. No. Now just think about this. So you're spending hours, because these yin yoga practices are hours, practicing feminine energy, practicing safety, cooling the body down, feeling melty. Now, when you bring your presence to somebody else, you're in a feminine, melty, cool down state. You're in a refreshing state. That is precious. That's expensive energy. It just is what it is. It takes time. It takes space. It takes safety to cool down from this wild world we're living in. And that energy deserves to be compensated for somehow, some way, whether it's through reciprocal energy, whether it's through money. I love yoga. Yeah, I love yoga too. Okay, so the second part of this, aside from education and credentials, because maybe you don't have any based off of what you're coaching, there's all sorts of different coaching. And again, I'm addressing service-based entrepreneurs here. So what's your life experience? What have you embodied and learned through experience? And I think that this can be even more valuable than education and certifications, because when someone embodies something, that's their credential. So let's say that someone who's 45 looks like they're 25. Do they have an education or credential in beauty, in hair, in health and wellness coaching? Probably. What they don't. For me, it doesn't matter. I'm like, what are you doing? Tell me what you're doing. Show me what you eat. Show me your lifestyle. Show me your thoughts. What are you thinking? What are your behaviors? They are embodied in youth. They are embodied in vitality. That makes me want to hire them more than if they were to show up in a dreary energy, bracing with all the certifications in the world for nutrition, health and wellness. Do you get what I'm saying? So what is your life experience? What have you embodied? And do you show that to the world? So also, what have you lived through? For me with nervous system, and I haven't shared this, I don't think, on my channel, but I grew up with an emotionally and physically abusive father. And that was traumatic to my little childhood self. And I have done hours and hours of therapy as a child, as an adult. I've choreographed and danced about it on stage. I've talked about it. I've journaled about it. I prayed about it. I have worked through so much trauma in my nervous system from the inside out. So I understand trauma in an embodied way and what it feels like to hold it and to be with it and to shift it. Also, I grew up with a single mother who was she didn't have the luxury to be in her feminine, right? She had to hold masculine and feminine. She had to provide, she had to protect, she had to hold discipline and boundaries. So I didn't have that modeled. So I've lived through feeling and existing in a masculine way and shifting into feminine through things like Yin Yoga, through things like slowing down, through baths, through nervous system care. I've lived it. I feel so confident and so comfortable in sharing what I know because it comes from the inside out of me. It's not just certifications. Doesn't just live in my head. Yes, I'm sure it feels really good that I have 4 years of neuroscience education, that I have 4 years of a dance background, that I have, this experience in the Rolf Institute with connective tissue, that I have experience in biodynamic craniosacral therapy, like all of these things, really important. But I've lived it. And I feel so comfortable in my body being with activated nervous systems because I've learned to be with my own and to soothe my own so I can hold a space. I'm a new mother. So this is something I'm learning I'm 7 months in. It's actually my little one's 7-month birthday today. But this is something that I am embodying, and I'm excited to be able to help other mothers and new mothers. And this will inform and expand and deepen my coaching practice in a new way because I understand what it's like to have a piece of your heart outside of your body walking around. I understand what it's like to go through the transformation of losing yourself, of going from maiden to mother and becoming someone new, of all the stuff that comes up in the nervous system from this space of how the nervous system opens up. Like I'm living it, you guys. So life experience, what are you offering as a coach? How have you lived it? You can hear my heart when I'm talking about this. So if you've lived through something, if you've experienced something, talk about it from your heart. Yes, share the ABs. 1 second. Yes, share the A, B, C's, D's, the logistics, the education, that stuff is really interesting. But really what you can offer your clients is your lived experience and your energetic resonance. Okay. And the third part of this is confidence in your results. So we have some new coaches who have tuned in. This is when things really changed for me. Oh, my voice, you guys. 1 second. Okay. So when you first start offering something, when you first sell your product, when you first sit down with somebody and coach them for the first time, it's a risk in a way, right? You just don't know. You don't know. A part of you knows because you are confident that you got through it. But the reality is a part of you is going to be nervous because you want to deliver results. So there's different ways that you can do this. The first is to do a beta program, right? It's like I actually did my very, very first client I coached for free. And she was referred to me. She's amazing, a musician in LA. And she was referred to me by one of my friends who's a really experienced coach. And she said, if you just want to play, if you want to get some confidence, go ahead and work through that with her. And I did. And I coached her for several months and it was great. Now, the risk is sometimes if you offer something for free, that person won't take it seriously and they won't invest in themselves and show up and, push through the challenging parts of it. But she did. And then I was like, okay, I can do this. I got some confidence in myself. The next client I took through at half my rate. And it was great. Again, I started developing curriculum. Every client I work with, I get more ideas for curriculum, for content, for videos, for reflection questions for meditations. And then my next client, I remember I sat down with him, he's actually local, in a coffee shop, and I just trusted myself and I trusted my heart. And I offered the biggest coaching container investment that I've ever asked for. It was my first time doing it. And I just really felt this wave of like knowing that I could. And yet it was scary, right? It's like, can I deliver to this person? But I did. And, years later, we're still working together on and off, like on occasion. He'll reach out to me every now and then. But from then on, it started to just be a rolling thing, right? I got more confidence, my energy shifted. And for every single client that I worked with, I would do a Google survey. So I ask them a survey and I would ask them what their experience was like. And the results started to be so profound for my clients. Like I remember that I couldn't even read through one of the surveys. I had to have my coach I was working with at the time open the survey up with me and like me read out loud. And I was bawling because basically this specific survey was saying that I changed her life, that this coaching container felt like I changed her life, that a part of her was dead and that she came back to life. And it was just I was like, I can't even explain the emotion. I had to receive it, I think. I had to feel the power of what I was doing. And so many, many clients later now, I have complete confidence that when someone signs up to work with me, they are going to get life-changing results. So all of those fears about like, ooh, am I going to deliver value? Or, oof, is that too much money they're giving me? Or, oof, I don't have it anymore. I just feel so excited for them. I feel so excited for them and so honored for me that they are stepping into something that is so life-changing for them. And we have to think like feeling that value exchange when someone is investing in your program, in your coaching, they are not investing in you. They're investing in themselves through you. And if you focus on what you're offering versus what you're getting, what value are you giving? What are the results? What's your energy? What have you lived through? What education have you gotten? How are you showing up in your feminine energy? All of these things, if you focus on what you're giving, you're going to start to get so excited for them that any blocks you have on like pricing and blah, 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 and like fears about delivering, they just fade to the background. And once I got that level of confidence, my business just took off. It just did. So in the beginning, it's taking a leap of faith and just doing it and showing up and trusting yourself and trusting your vocation. And then start to collect like testimonials, collect that data and feel it, receive it. Like receive it in every bone of your body. And then it'll change your energy about it. Like, I think you guys can feel that when I'm talking about this, I mean it. Like, I'm really excited about my course, Nervous System of Goddess. I'm so excited about my Yin Yoga course. Like, thank you, Christelle, for sharing your experience with the Yin Yoga course, because when I get feedback like that, it's like, yes, it's working. I mean, recording a course and offering that was a whole new level for me because I wasn't there, right? Like when I'm coaching someone, there's a level of accountability. But when someone purchases a course, you kind of have to let the reins go and just trust that they're going to receive value. And this is where pricing is a certain art, because are you charging enough to where they're going to show up and make sure they get their money's worth and get the value? It's not about how much they're paying you. It's about how much they're investing in themselves through the structure you're creating. So the more that I receive this feedback about my courses, about my YouTube channel, about my coaching, the more expensive my energy gets, because I know that when I show up, okay, so A, I'm taking time away from my baby, and B, I can feel with every bone in my body that all of these life experiences, all this education is offering immense life-changing value. So that's what I have to offer. Feel free to ask any questions. And yeah. Much needed is I feel like I'm always rushing and unable to relax. Yeah. So my question for you would be, how can you relax? What ways could you infuse relaxation into your schedule? because that will kind of stop that rushing energy. That will help you to slow down, to be more present. For me, I've been doing Yin Yoga. I love it, especially this time of year. It's my favorite thing ever. It's an hour of just stretching. Does that mean for you, you take a slow, mindful walk outside in nature and really look at the trees and look at the leaves, or lack of leaves if you're somewhere where it's really cold? What does slowing down mean for you? Like, how can you relax? And it might be that your nervous system is just wound up and it's hard to relax. Then get some nervous system support. Embodiment is everything. Yeah. Embodiment is everything. Embodiment is what sells. It really does. Yes, mother of 4. Youngest is 10 months. 4. You're amazing. Youngest is 10 months. That's great. I'm curious. So boy mom and budgets. Oh my gosh, I love your handle. I'm a boy mom too, one boy. But curious what you do to find your feminine energy with 4 kids. Google survey. I love that. Yeah. So create a survey or a way to receive feedback. And especially if you're going to be doing something with a beta client, ask that of them. Like if they're getting any sort of discount on your services, let that be, just say at the very end, I'm going to ask that you fill out a survey and give me feedback. And if you received value from the program, write a testimonial for me. Put that testimonial on my LinkedIn, put it on Google Survey or on Google Business, put it on Facebook, whatever. Get written feedback about what you're doing, because that's going to reflect back to you what you're offering. And it's also going to give you more credentials. I always tell my clients, like, no one can tell other people what I do better than you. And it really helps me to talk about my work by asking them questions. So on occasion, I'll have them on my YouTube channel, just talking about the work we did together. And it really, really helps share what I do in a really heart-centered way. Okay, I think that's everything. I'll say, give this video a like, please. Give me a comment. I can't tell you how much that helps my channel and how much that really motivates me to keep making content. It gives me feedback as to what's resonating with you. Imagine if you were to just kind of be talking to the ether or a camera, and then you just don't get any feedback. It helps to create interaction. And so I really appreciate that if you can give me some of the feedback. Embodiment is everything. I have 0 yoga experience, so it was a bit of leap of faith for me. I trust your energy, and I've truly watched you walk your talk. Thank you. So you must have watched my earlier YouTube videos. I feel like I've grown so much in the past 2.5 years. So I've had this YouTube channel for 2.5 years, and I look back and I'm like, I was a completely different embodiment. Like if you look at my old YouTube videos, and I will keep them up. Again, I like what I say in them, but I just feel like I'm a different energy now. I made a routine where I get up before them and put time into me. And I'm also aware of how I respond to them in moments when I feel heated. That's great. That sounds like you have resilience when you're triggered, that you've really learned how to track your system and let yourself know, like, okay, I'm safe right now, and have composure. So that's great that you have that skill set. That's what I work with my clients on. And then getting up before them. I've heard that from other moms, that that's really important, to wake up really early, even if you're tired. And I think at some point, I'm still in the phase where he's waking up a couple of times to eat. So I'm not sleeping through the night quite yet. But once he gets more, I heard by like a year, it kind of shifts, and every baby's different. But once that happens, I'll probably start to do the thing where I wake up early before him and have my me time. My coaching business is anonymous. I share content on TikTok and Instagram. I've had one client so far, and people love the content I share. I'm terrified of sharing who I am. Oh, why? I'm terrified of sharing who I am. My love, that's what's going to sell. Literally, that's what's going to do it. Okay, let me tell you, I worked at a restaurant and I was part of working at that restaurant. We tried everything that on the menu, like everything. And the food was really delicious at this restaurant. And when I talk about this food, it's because I've tried it. It's because I've eaten it. And I had a table when I was working there say to me, like, you could sell anything on this menu. And I was like, well, I'm selling it because I'm sharing about it, because it's embodied. I've tried it. I've tasted it. So I'm not sharing it as a logistical, like, ingredients off of the menu, what I've been told to say. I'm sharing it from the experience of being it. So if you're sharing who you are, and it sounds like people are loving your content, you have one client, but a part of you's hiding. And I'm curious about that. Like, maybe do some journaling about that. Like, what am I hiding? What am I scared about? Where does that fear come in? Are you scared of being judged? Are you scared of your power? Are you scared of being seen? And do some work around that, because if you unlock that and you can really share yourself and share your heart and be vulnerable, your business would take off. And I think it's great that people are loving your content. I just think it's interesting that your coaching business is anonymous. So, yeah, be gentle with yourself, titrate, but like kind of do some exploring around that. That's what I would say. All right. Well, I hope this was helpful for all of you. Just to remember, your energy, your time is so precious. And if you're someone who has feminine energy and wants to express that as your main essence, that's expensive. If you're a human design projector, it's expensive. If you have a business that's forward facing with clients, it's expensive because it comes from your lived experience more so than your certifications. So that's all I have for you. Check out my Nervous System of a Goddess course. I can promise you it will deliver. I'm so excited for it. And I'm going to try to live stream tomorrow. So hopefully I'll see you tomorrow.